Welcome to a love story written in the ink of eternity. The moon waits for his words, Sheikh Hamdan's poetic confession. A story where night itself bends closer to listen, where silence becomes music, and where poetry becomes prayer. This is not just a confession of love, it is the unveiling of a heart that has never stopped writing, even when words failed, even when distance became destiny. The moon waits for him because his words carry truth, not the kind spoken by men, but the kind whispered by souls. Every night, as the world drifts into sleep, Sheikh Hamdan finds himself beneath the same silver glow, the same ancient witness that once watched over prophets and lovers alike. The moon knows his secrets. It has seen him write with trembling hands, seen him pause between verses as though waiting for her memory to guide his next line. There is something sacred in that moment, the way he looks up, not at the stars, but at the one light that never leaves the night. It's as if he's speaking to her through it, as if every ray that falls upon him carries her name. He writes when the palace is quiet, when the world outside has forgotten its noise. His words aren't meant for fame, or for the world's applause. They are confessions, soft, raw, unfiltered. They come from the part of him that the crown cannot touch, from the boy inside the prince who still believes that love is a form of worship. His pen becomes his companion, his poetry the only voice brave enough to speak the truth his lips can't. And as he writes, the moon listens, patient, eternal, waiting to cradle his confessions in its light. There are nights when he doesn't write at all. He simply sits, staring at the horizon, lost between memory and hope. The breeze moves gently across his face, and in it, he imagines her voice. She was his muse, yes, but also his mirror, the reflection of all the gentleness he hides from the world. The moonlight reminds him of her, soft, loyal, untouchable. He doesn't speak her name, not even to the stars, but every pause in his breathing spells her syllables perfectly. He remembers the way her presence once quieted him. No words were needed, her silence spoke in languages older than time. When she laughed, it wasn't sound, it was light. And though she's no longer near, her laughter still echoes through his verses. Sometimes he stops mid-poem, his chest heavy with ache, realizing that no matter how many words he writes, he will never be able to capture her completely. She is not a poem, she is the reason poetry exists. The moon has become his witness, the only one who knows what he hides behind his calm. It sees the weight he carries, the kind of love that doesn't fade, that doesn't ask, that simply is. When he looks at its glow, he feels seen, as though the heavens themselves acknowledge his longing. He once wrote, "The moon waits for my words, because they are hers, she left them in my soul," and in those words, the universe understood, love, when true, becomes a language of its own. Every verse he pens is an act of remembrance. He doesn't write to relive the past, but to honor it. Each poem is a candle lit for her memory, each line a bridge between what was and what still beats within him. His confession is not of heartbreak but of eternal devotion. He doesn't mourn her absence, he cherishes her essence. She has become part of his light, reflected in every poem, every breath, every moonrise that finds him awake and writing. Sometimes he wonders if she reads him from afar, if somewhere under the same moon, she still feels the pull of his words. He doesn't need an answer. Love like theirs doesn't need proof. It exists in energy, in silence, in the way the night itself seems to lean toward him when he writes. He knows that when two souls are connected by truth, even distance becomes a form of closeness. The world may never see the poems he hides. Some are too personal, too divine. They are written not on paper but in light, in the way he gazes at the moon, in the way he breathes her memory. He once said, "The greatest poems are not read, they are felt in the dark." And so, the moon keeps waiting, faithfully, for his next confession, knowing that each word he releases carries the vibration of a love too holy to fade. And when dawn finally arrives, painting the sky in soft shades of gold, the moon slips away quietly, its duty fulfilled. Yet it will return, as it always does, to hear the next verse, the next sigh, the next confession.
The moon's patience mirrors his own. Both wait, one for words, the other for a presence that may never return. Yet neither give up. There is something profoundly beautiful in that faith, in believing that love, even unspoken, can still move the universe. His poetry has become that movement, the subtle tremor between heaven and earth that whispers, he still loves, still writes, still remembers. That's what makes his words eternal. They are not born from sorrow but from the courage to keep feeling, even when the world demands indifference. To love in silence is to love in strength. He could have shouted her name across oceans, but he chose instead to whisper it into the wind, trusting that the universe would carry it to her. He turned pain into prayer, longing into literature, and heartbreak into art. When he writes, time pauses. The desert outside stills, and even the stars seem to draw nearer. His pen glides across the page, each stroke a heartbeat, each verse a confession the moon will keep. It's a ritual now, the night, the light, the silence, and him. And though he knows she may never read these words, he continues, because love, once written with truth, becomes immortal. The world may know him as a prince, a leader, a poet, but the moon knows the man behind all that. The one who writes not to impress, but to heal. The one who turns pain into grace, and silence into song. His confession is not of weakness, but of reverence, for the woman who inspired him to feel deeply, to write truthfully, to love endlessly. And as night returns, so does the rhythm of his heart, steady, patient, eternal. The moon rises again, as if drawn not by gravity but by longing, waiting once more to hear him speak to the stars. He stands at his window, a pen in hand and a storm in his chest. Around him, the palace glows in quiet majesty, yet inside him lives a gentleness that only love can birth. He whispers her name softly, not aloud, but in the language of the soul, where even silence answers back. The moon glimmers brighter, as though it, too, remembers. Sometimes he writes without knowing what he's writing. The ink flows like water from a wound, pure, unstoppable, cleansing. His words spill onto paper like prayers that escaped his lips too soon. In those moments, he feels her presence as though she never left, as if her spirit lingers in every pause, every comma, every sigh. He doesn't fight it anymore, he lets the feeling stay. Because in that ache, there's peace, the kind of peace only found in surrendering to love's infinite reach. There are nights when he looks beyond the